Welcome back to Fair Fit Investing. Today we're taking a look at Taiwan Semiconductor, ticker symbol TSM. We're going to start off looking at some fundamentals, and then we're going to run a valuation to see where the stock could be headed from here, whether the company is overvalued, undervalued, or fairly valued. We've got price per share of $127, a price to earnings ratio of 24, a market cap of 660 billion, and an enterprise value of 691 billion. Looking at the financials, I don't see the cash to debt ratio here. So moving to profitability, we do see a lot of green here versus the industry all throughout their columns. We've got gross margin of 67.95, so very large margins. And versus the industry, they're in the 95th percentile. Versus history, these are the highest gross margins they've had in the last 10 years. And then for operating margins, another high margin here of 30.59, net margins 38, free cash flow 9.91. We do see that this is the lowest operating margin they've had in the last 10 years, and the lowest, just about the lowest, free cash flow they've had in the last 10 years. So not too great of signals here. I use these margins to give me some insight into how the business is doing, but for management strength, I use ROE, ROA, ROIC, and ROC. So we do see here that versus the industry, this management is doing fairly well, although versus history, again, not the best they've had. Their price to earnings ratio versus their historical, their median was 16 the last 10 years, maximum of 33, and a current of 24, so somewhere between their medium and maximum for the last 10 years. When it comes to their trailing 12-month revenue, we see that they have $69 billion in revenue versus that $660 billion market cap. So the company is trading for just about 8 or 9 times their trailing 12-month revenue. Looking at their financials on a trailing 12-month period, we see fairly steady growth through 2022, and then since 2022, a slight deceleration in that growth. We have cash to debt fairly in pace with each other, and it looks like slight share sales since 2023. To get further insight and see where the stock could be headed in the future, let's run a DCF. So we have 5-star predictability for the business, and we do have data for the 10, 5, and 3-year period for earnings per share, as well as for free cash flow. So I do see 16% on average for the last 10 years, a 5-year average of 22, and a 3-year of 40.9. So this tells me their earnings per share has been accelerating. And in free cash flow, 20 in the last 10, 14 in the last 5, and the last 3 years, 53%, so some growth in free cash flow earnings as well. Based on free cash flow here, let's see what's currently priced in. So for free cash flow, there's about 37% growth priced in for the next 10 years versus their 10-year that they've achieved. They had 20.9, so almost double what they did in the last 10 years is priced in right now. But looking at earnings per share, if they are to achieve what they have for the last 10 years in earnings per share for the next 10, then a fair value would be about what it is today. And obviously, if they are to continue accelerating and match their 5-year average return for earnings per share for the next 10, then we could see a fair value closer to 185. Earnings per share growth could be around 25, which would leave us with a fair value of 226. And on a bearish estimate, if they were to achieve what they have for the last 10, for the next 10, then you could see some slight downside. But this is my hypothetical framework of TSM stock. If you enjoy these type of videos, please leave a like, subscribe, and maybe drop a comment. See you next time.